Chris and James, and Don is on the phone.
He's on the phone?
Yes, sir.
Don, are you on the phone?
Yes, sir.
All right, good. And you want to say the Pledge of Allegiance for us after Turtle Towers prays for us?
I probably fade out. You better go ahead. Thank you.
It starts off with I pledge allegiance.
Don't start yet, I'm gonna pray. Father, thank you for another beautiful day, for an opportunity to fellowship, an opportunity to fulfill the role that you call us to. Thank you for this institution, for its leadership. Thank you for this day, the way that we can honor you for our way in Christ's name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible. Amen. Play ball. Welcome to the workshop, Central Texas College District on 21st of July 2020. This meeting is being recorded and will be available for the public upon request. And a member of the public may access this meeting by following https://WTU-BE//capital D, capital C, capital I, or capital C, capital S, capital K, D, capital E. If you didn't get that, I don't understand it either. You have an opportunity for members of the public to suggest additional topics for discussion to the or address topics of interest, with a limitation of 3 minutes. Do we have anyone who sent any emails in? Have anyone present like to make a statement? Seeing none. A couple of administrative items. We have the annual evaluation for the chancellor and for the auditor due to HR. I think those have already been sent out. If you haven't received them, Ms. Jordan is here somewhere. There she is. Please see her and get that squared away. And we also have the annual trustees evaluation of ourselves and how our organization goes for SACS. And Dr. Garrett's over here. And if you haven't done that, please give that to Dr. Garrett. We need those finished by the next meeting. And the final item is the IT training statement. If you haven't signed that statement, I think Ms. Havens has those in her office if you want to sign them. I finally got one printed off and found a way to sign it and turn it in. If you haven't done that, you need to go online to do that.
I've
Question.
got copies.
You brought copies today?
Yes.
Okay, so see Ms. Jordan if you need to sign those. It's really no sweat thing, it just looks for you and it's acceptance. Next item on the agenda is the Chancellor's update. Mr. Moppers.
A couple of things. First, Dr. Carter has an introduction she'd like to make, and then I'm just going to let her go ahead and follow on with her update on COVID-19 and the phase 3 campus reopening. Dr. Carter?
Good afternoon.
Howdy.
At this time, I would like to introduce Mr. Dave Hickman, our newest addition to the CTC leadership. Dave is a retiree with the United States Army, a 25-year retiree and veteran. He retired as a first sergeant and master sergeant. He also, with extensive experience, mind you, in emergency and risk management within the military. He also taught multiple leadership courses, comes with an extensive background in his particular discipline. He has a Master's of Arts from Emergency and Disaster Management from American Military University, Bachelor of Science in Community and Human Service with a concentration in Emergency Management from State University of New York Empire State College, and he has an Associates of Arts in General Studies from our very own Central Texas College. Dave joined us in the middle of a pandemic back in May, and his extensive experience, knowledge, and education were a perfect fit for what we were going through. So in addition to being the Director of Risk Management, Dave is our COVID-19 liaison. So he communicates with the city and the county, things that are going on here at the college. And he is also a member of the COVID-19 task force. And just recently, he was named the Title IX coordinator. So we are very happy to have Dave. He jumped in with both feet, and he's been an asset ever since. So, Dave Hickman.
I just want to say thank you for welcoming me on board, and it was definitely a heck of a change from the military coming here right in the middle of the pandemic and starting out working from home. Definitely something different, but I feel like I can be an asset to the organization, and I've always got a soft spot in my heart for CTC as a graduate from years ago, and I just I'm looking forward to getting to know everyone and working the best I can for the college and doing the best I can and trying to make it even better than it already is. Thank you.
You have a comment? I'd like to make a comment.
Okay.
Dave's already proved his worth and value to us. You know, coming on board when he did, we had to make some adjustments. We had to make some contacts, and he was able to do that graciously with the city and the county and for the COVID-19, and has done a great job. So anyway, you can thank him for getting us on board early, and it has proven to be valuable to us as we are today. So thank you, Dave. Appreciate it.
Okay. I'll give a brief update on COVID-19 and the reopening of our campus. This week concludes phase 2 of the campus reopening, and during the last 3.5 weeks, we've successfully implemented the college's return to campus plan. The instruction is taking place online with the exception of a few hands-on programs and labs being taught face-to-face. Student support services are being provided remotely and with appointments only. And employees have returned to work in various staffing levels as determined by the college's leadership. And part of the reason for that, you all may recall from the return to campus plan, we have employees coming back on average 50%, 75%, and then 100% in August. And that gives us an opportunity to manage the traffic in the workplace, see where everybody fits, see where we may have some issues. So it allows us to move cautiously back into our operations. In preparation for employees' return to campus, a mandatory COVID-19 safety training was developed along with an affidavit. So before you could return to your workspace, you were required to complete this training. This training was also deployed to all students by Dean Julie Starkey. So they were all getting the same training. Ms. Merlot is ensuring that that our website is continually updated with the most current information and resources for employees and students. Another critical aspect of our return to campus operations is managing COVID-19. So whether it's symptoms, exposures, or positive tests, we develop protocols in advance of our return, and I promise you those protocols were tested during phase 2. And I'm happy to report that they're working. And key to its success is the self-reporting form that we have in our system. And employees and students have been exceptional in reporting just about everything. And so they err on the side of caution, which is a good thing. Dean Starkey facilitates the return to campus for the students, and Ms. Jackie Thomas in HR, she facilitates the return for employees. And of course, anything that's positive, and you may have seen the notification, we did have one early on, and that gets reported to Mr. Hickman, who works with the county, getting that reported to the county, who actually does the contact tracing. So we're not required to do that, the county does that. So overall, we believe that it's been very successful. Phase 3 begins on Monday, July 27th, where we will move on average to 75% of hours being on campus, employees being on campus. The other good thing is, if I can circle back to phase 2, is we saw a significant drop in BI usage towards the end in the last couple of weeks because employees are back on campus. And you'll recall that we told you, I think it was in March or April, that we were paying business interruption hours for employees who could not work from home but could not be on campus. And that number was pretty, and I'm happy to report that in the last pay period, it was 22,000 thereabouts, Ms. Jordan. And so we anticipate that with phase 3, that number will further decrease, and that at the beginning of phase 4 in August, there will be no business interruption hours recorded for employees. So we're managing this, and it's going according to plan. So we thank the Chancellor for his leadership and trusting us to do what we do. Yesterday, the Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board put out another set of recommended health protocols for the fall semester. Chancellor, would you like to speak to that?
Yeah, first I'd like to make a comment about the business interruption. You know, that started out, she said a big number, but she didn't tell you what that big number was. But it was in excess of $340,000. So getting it down to the 22,000 is very significant. What she's talking about now is the protocols that were sent out in all the colleges. We've met weekly, and community colleges, along with the Texas Education Agency, Coordinating Board, the Texas Association of Community Colleges, and some other people from the governor's office and state senators and representatives and so forth. And they've struggled to come up with these protocols, which our team came up with early on, and we stuck with those. And looking back now and looking at the protocols I came up with and they just put out yesterday, and all these schools are struggling with what are we going to do, how are we going to open, where are we going to start. They just got those yesterday, and they've been waiting for them. And I kept telling them, don't wait, you got to establish your own. But as it turns out, there's not anything in those protocols, and there's 6 pages of those compared to our two pages or so that we have. But we have covered, everything in there is covered. We have no deficiencies, we have nothing we have to go back and tweak or bring up to speed. So hats off to Dr. Carter and her team for leading us through that effort. But that was very significant. And I spent a little over an hour this morning on the telephone with Dr. Kraft and Dr. Migliazzo talking about those protocols, and they are still struggling. And as you know, you've seen on the news and on the paper, Dr. Kraft, with the public education, they're struggling. Dr. Migliazzo is struggling with his. Chancellor Sharp is putting the pressure on them to increase enrollments. And there's some things going on where they're just having some difficulties, and they can't do anything at Texas A&M Central Texas without permission of the folks down in College Station. So it's truly a testament to us that we, everyone here has taken responsibility for these efforts and worked together to make that. So, thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? Yes, sir.
I saw in the paper that A&M, I guess Systems, is offering free testing
Yes, sir.
for both staff and students. Are
Yeah,
we doing
you know,
anything on this?
We talked about that again this morning as well. You know, Chancellor Sharp, they have, their pockets are a lot deeper than ours, of course.
Yep.
And so they came up with the idea that they were going to get everybody tested that comes back to school there, with the mindset that parents will accept that and send their kids there because it's safer knowing that all their kids were tested and now they're all in the dorm. Well, the test is only good at the time of the test, folks. Come on. You know, the next minute or the next day you can catch this virus. It's out there. So it's, you know, and even Dr. Migliazzo was shaking his head when we were talking about how he's been given 200 tests. He doesn't know if that's 200 a semester or 200 for the year or 200 a day. You know, he says, well, how are we going to do all these tests? Who's going to do them? They're expensive, and it's not an easy thing to do. The latest thing that came out from the CDC was perhaps it's not the nasal swab that detects it, because the only thing that they were doing that on some folks who were positive, and it did pick it up. But the thing that was picked up was that in every case it was smell. They lost their sense of smell. So now they're coming up with a scratch test. You know, can you scratch this? Can you smell it? Yes or no? So there's things going on out there. I know that a lot of colleges have purchased thermometers, having their faculty give tests when the students come in or when they come in, and, I mean, that stuff is expensive, and it doesn't prevent, the virus, you know, it only detects what we already know, and our system is working. We have, the self-reporting is working, the sanitation is working, the social distancing and wearing the mask, and that's really what it's about, and that's what we're requiring. So I think we're in good stead, and I don't think I can tell you this, in discussions with college administrators and especially the senior universities, they're worried about their funding. They're worried about what's going on in the legislation. So they've got to keep their enrollments up. So they're doing everything they can to keep students on those campuses, so that they can gain their funding. We know how that works. If we don't have students, we don't have funding. So we live with that every day. They don't live with that every day. So they're struggling. I don't know if I answered your question, Bill.
Well, I guess the issue is I didn't know if we were getting pressure from
No, we're not
the
getting
county or
pressure.
anybody that we had to start testing.
No.
And one of the things that we've done is, in addition to the self-reporting, we've created a self-assessment tool. The task force worked with Ms. Merlot and her team to create this self-assessment tool that's available on our website. It's on practically every door on the campus. Wear your mask. Do you feel this way? Do you feel this way? Do you feel this way? So we're keeping it in front of people's minds, and if they don't feel well, if they feel anything, they don't come. And they immediately contact their supervisors and their professors. So it's working. Thank you.
Then will we provide, Dr. Carter, will we provide masks for the ones that happen to show up without one? Do we have disposable ones that we can leave a stack with the teacher, with the instructors, so that?
Mark Harmson does have some, if they're requested. So there is a small supply of disposables available. And then, of course, we provide masks to the employees. We ordered thousands, and it's a cloth mask that can be, washed and used.
I wouldn't expect that to occur more than once, that you have to provide the student. And then they can take some other.
I remember our students for the rest of the summer and next semester, we're not going to have classrooms. There are some exceptions to that. So, but for the general coming back to school, it's going to be a synchronous virtual learning platform, and I think Dr. A.D. or maybe Dean Anderson will speak to that in a minute, but so they've accepted that, and our students seem to be accepting that that's a good way to learn under the circumstances. I told Dr. Kraft today, I said, you're going to be criticized in either direction you go, but if you almost need to err on the side of health and say that, well, if students lose something in social development or in their educational development, you can catch up with that later. So if you err on the side of health, at least you have something you can stand on, and so that's what we've done here. Online, and the faculty came together without my prodding or assistance, and they figured it out, and they came up with a great plan, and the plan was to continue with the online like we were, which is increase enrollments, and then to go to a synchronized virtual learning platform where the students can see them and they can see the students, and they can do it like on Zoom or WebEx or how they're going to do that. So that has really caught on, and I don't think there's any pushback from anybody, students or faculty. So the staff will be out here. They do have appointments. People can call and make an appointment to come out. Students can. There are going to be some classes that will have to meet face-to-face. The CTE classes, for the most part, automotive welding and so forth, where they have to come in and demonstrate that they know how to take off a tire or put on a transmission, that kind of thing. Some of that can be done by a video camera on your cell phone. You can watch a guy taking off a tire, so if you knows how to do that, and move on to the next module. All of those are self-paced, and so they come to the lab. We've been doing that since March the 16th. It's working well. The courses like Police Academy. Well, they come in and we've spread them out in a room, but they have, remember, they do combatives, they do weapons training, and they do driver training. So they are going to be in close quarters. Our flight training team, we've gone through the protocols with them, so they're going to be close in contact. So there's a few of those kinds of things going on, but for the most part, we don't have students on campus. So we don't have to worry about the masking.
Any other questions? The next item on the agenda is the budget update. Mr. Malthus.
Okay, I am going to fill in for Mr. Liberty. Dr. Carter's going to back up here, so she'll get me if I say something wrong. But anyway, we've been working. Bob's been working hard on the budget. You know that. He still was waiting for the tax information, and I don't know if he's gotten that yet. I haven't talked to him this week, but hopefully he got that. That was the biggest thing he was waiting for. We're looking at a 20% decrease in enrollments for the summer. Historically, what happens in the summer happens in the fall for us. So if we're down 10% in the summer, we're down 10% in the fall. If we're up 10%, we're up 10%. We estimate we're going to be down 20% when the summer is completely over, which would put us 20% down in the fall. And what that means is a decrease in those things. A lot of things go hand in hand. So if our enrollments are down, our book sales are down, then there's some other auxiliary things that aren't happening. The planetarium is not open, so we don't have any money coming in there. The dormitory is closed, so we're not having those monies coming in. But having said all of that, we're down about $6.5 to $7 million is what we're going to be down. But we've accommodated that. Bob's worked all that in with the budget. We made some adjustments early on. We stopped all employment. Nobody knew was going to come in. If a director quits, then that team has to just suck it up and do it with what they've got until we can get through this, and then we'll hire a director at some point. So, with the exception of faculty, you got to have faculty to teach classes. We're going to have policemen here to do policing. So if those positions open up, but for the most part, if somebody leaves, that team's just going to have to pitch in and get the job done until it happens. So having said that, and having the direction gone out with, remember, all of our budgets start at the lowest level. So they start down at the grassroots level with the departments, and down even below that at the site level. And those budgets are worked, and they're worked all the way up through. So you have to show your revenue, you have to show your expense. And by the time it gets up to the deputy chancellor, it should be balanced. If it's not, then the deputy goes back and says, okay, how come you're $100,000 out of balance? You're going to spend $100,000 more than you're bringing in. That's not acceptable. We got to fix this. So that's what's fixed. But Bob put out, and we all agreed to do this with the senior leadership, an 8% reduction. So everybody had to go find an 8% reduction, in addition to stopping all expenses and stopping all hires, okay? And so they have done that, and some of them have done more than 8%. So we think we're going to be just fine presenting you with a balanced budget for the next year. So that's in a nutshell where we are. $2.5 million was used of CARES money to purchase some things that were caused by the COVID-19 pandemic, such things as moving everybody out of here and then having to work from home created a huge IT issue. And so we had to accommodate that. And if we didn't have that CARES Act money, that $2.5 million, it would have had to come out of our pockets, or we would have just had to do without it. So by us being able to use that, we were able to infiltrate the IT requirements and the needs of our faculty and staff and our students. So, and then the other $2.5 million, or $2.4 million, went to students, and so that has been being pushed down. And so we've got some time left to push that out. So, and that's kind of where we are with the budget. So he will give a full report Tuesday at the board meeting on what the final numbers are on the budget and where he's at.
Thanks, sir. Any questions?
Do you have we have a deadline for when that money has to be in the hands of the students?
Yeah, we have another
We have
a year,
till
right?
next.
Yeah, next.
You have a year.
Yeah, about a year. 2 more semesters.
The next item on the agenda is the update on the early college high school. Dean Anderson.
While she's coming up, I asked Dr. Anderson, this came up, Ms. Coley asked about early college high school, what the numbers were, what we were doing, and where we were at. And I asked Jan to please expand that to include not only early college high school with KISD, but the STEM program, because that's huge for us. And in addition to that, we have an early college high school program and a STEM program with Copper Cove, and so she's gonna bring you all these numbers to kind of bring you up to speed on where we're at. Jan?
So I put a timeline on your table, so that I'm just gonna kind of talk through that timeline with you a little bit. First of all, thank you for having me here today. I love talking about our dual credits, so thank you for having me. I appreciate it. I remember when we launched Early College High School back in fall of 2015. It was a new concept for us. We had a lot of experience with dual credit before that, but we had never been in a program of that kind, very unique, and we had a lot to learn. So we started with 150 students. They were working toward their associate's degree in interdisciplinary studies, and they would simultaneously be working toward their high school diploma. We had 150 enrollments. We had 150 students, and we had 150 enrollments. So each student was taking one course. It was PE. They stuck their toe in the water, and that embarked us on this journey. KISD and CTC had very different systems. We had to learn to talk to each other. It was like 2 different languages, but we became interpreters. And even though we hit some obstacles pioneering this initiative, we made a commitment that we were going to do this for our students and for our community. We wanted that opportunity here. By fall 2017, we had soared to 1,238 enrollments in early college high school. And that summer of 2018, we launched STEM with 88 enrollments. So STEM students are also working toward associates in interdisciplinary studies, but they are channeled into 6 pathways that are very specific in STEM topics. So they can go into biology, organismal biology, chemistry, cybersecurity, engineering and technology, and chemistry. And so by fall 2018, which was 1 semester later, we went up to 467 enrollments, so times 4. And by spring 2019, we were growing enrollments in both early college high school and STEM, and we had our first graduating class in early college high school. But we also had 905 enrollments in regular dual credit and 145 enrollments in the early college program that we offer out of Copper Cove ISD. So to kind of differentiate between the difference in early college high school and the early college program, early college high school is a separate high school. It's distinct by itself, and those students are kind of cloistered together in that high school, and they, at this particular place, are working on an interdisciplinary studies degree. They're all working toward the same goal. In an early college program, the students are sitting down with a counselor, they're deciding what they want to study, and they select their college program that they can work on during the school day, but they are not a unique high school. They are not separated in any way, and they are bussed out here on the central campus. So that brings us up to spring 2020, and then COVID-19 hit. At this time, we had a total of 5,830 enrollments between all our programs. And we needed to transition to remote learning, and we needed to do that fast, just like many other schools. Luckily, CTC was very well versed and experienced in online teaching. Most of our teachers had taught online before. Most of our courses, not all, most of our courses were online and available. Our online courses were rigorous and sound, and they had been built by the faculty under the guidance of Sharon Davis and her team at Distance Education and Educational Technology, DEETS. And so we were well prepared, I think, for this kind of emergency. The only issue we had was in the fact that we had some programs that had required hands-on components. And so those could not go totally online. We had things like nursing, EMT, culinary, automotive, building trades, welding. Those kinds of things, before they could finish with their certification or with their degree, they had to finish their hands-on component. So what they did was they taught concepts online as long as they could, and then they brought them in very small groups of 3 or 4. They had staggered schedules, and they came and they finished out their hands-on requirements. And we started this really the end of spring semester with industrial trades. It was one of the first ones to do that. Throughout the spring and the summer, faculty who were teaching courses that were not necessarily already online, they had not been developed yet, they had to become creative. And so technology had advanced. We had conferencing platforms. The ISD started using those. We started using those. And as the Chancellor mentioned, we call those synchronous virtual lecture now. And the advantage of that is it's in real time. Instead of the online courses where students can work whenever they want, whenever they feel like it, work on their courses and get their assignments done. In a synchronous virtual lecture class, they meet at a specific time. The instructor is on the computer lecturing to them face to face. They are all there. They can talk to their classmates. They can ask questions to the instructor. The instructor can answer their questions. They can do group exercises. And what we discovered is the feedback from the students. They really, really like this. They like this form of online. So it has been very successful. And again, we are calling this Synchronous Virtual Lecture, or SVL. And that gives us another option to offer with online courses. So back to dual credit. With core classes being online this fall, STEM students will not even need to come to campus at all. They will be working on their core courses online, whether they work at their home campus, home high school campus, or whether they will work from home, depending on what their parents and they decide that they need to do, depending on the district. We are not sure about the early college high school student numbers that will be on campus, because KISD has given the parents the option that they can come face-to-face onto their high school campus and learn that way, or they can choose virtual learning. And so if they come on campus, those that are here, they will probably stay in the early college high school areas to work on their online courses with CTC. So that would be Building 113, Shoemaker, and 103, Eagle Hall. The more regular dual credit that take courses on their high school campuses will probably continue with their high school campuses or from home. And early college students will come to campus from CCISD only to do the hands-on part of their technical courses. They will do the conceptual part online. I think industrial trades uses course sites to do that. And then they will come here to finish out their online components. So we will still have small groups of students coming here, EMT, nursing. We have the police academy that's not allowed, TPOL does not allow them to offer online courses. But there'll be small pockets here on campus, and they will have very stringent COVID protocols set out by campus. They've done a great job with that. Whatever the numbers are and whatever we need to do, I think we're prepared and we're ready. You have any questions? Okay, thank you for letting me come speak.
Dr.
Yes.
Kraft and I talked again this morning, and I had told him, he asked what we were gonna do and how we were gonna start our classes, because he was anticipating what he was gonna have to do with early college, high school, and the STEM program. And I say, I'm talking about him because he's the biggest player in this. And I told him, I said, you know, it doesn't matter to us what you do on your side with the high school program, because our side, we have it online, or we will have it virtual with a synchronized learning platform. And at that time, we were talking about a blended class with him. So he said, oh, and I said, so if they decide to stay at home, they can still take our classes. I don't know how your classes are going to go, but they can still take ours. And if they decide if you want to bring them out here, you can, and they can, again, take them online or however we're going to do it. So it won't matter to us how you do it. What matters to him is what he does with the high school. That's still, as of this morning, they're in a quandary. Their anticipated start date, I think, is August 17th. But if that gets pushed back to September sometime, depending on what the commissioner says, then that's going to affect what we do. We're going to have to make some adjustment on our start date for some of those kids. But we'll figure all that out as we go. So I hope she's answered everything.
Just one question, Dean Harrison. You mentioned that the possibility that we will have some early college high school students on campus at Eagle Hall or Schumacher Center. Do we have any plans to feed them while they're out here?
Yes, the plan is that they will continue to provide meals for them like they had in the past. They'll bring them out, and Dr. Carter has made arrangements to make that open. And I think, Dr. Carter, you've also made arrangements. You want to speak to Greg Western?
And Ted can, Mr. Gonzalez can correct me if I'm wrong, but we plan to reopen our dining services for grab and go in the fall semester. So many of the students ate the meal. I'm going to step over here real quick.
Yeah, get on the mic so we can.
The students will continue to have two options. Basically, KISD provided meals out of Building 106, and then also the students had access to the cafeteria and snack bar. So KISD will continue to do that in Building 106, provide their hot meal. And in the fall, we plan to reopen the cafeteria or snack bar for grab and go items only, so they'll have access to both.
So we will have some activity in this building in the fall.
Yes, sir.
Good. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much.
My next item on our agenda is the comprehensive insurance coverage contracts renewal for Arthur I. Gallagher, J. Gallagher, Bingham, Cleaver, Chapman, Watts, and Lyon. Mr. Hickman.
Chancellor, members of the board, I get the honor to be the bearer of some rare good news when it comes to budget stuff. Our total combined for all insurance this year is actually about $200,000 less than last year. So that's some rare good news. The insurance is for all of our insurance coverage except for the comprehensive for the actual facilities themselves. That was done last month, as you remember. And this month is for our overseas, our liability, our workers' comp, employee crime, officers, directors, cyber, police, aircraft, all of those policies all together. The reason it's so much less is with Arthur J. Gallagher, our biggest expense for that was workers' comp. And with the loss of the Navy contracts and some decreased payroll, that dropped significantly in our workers' comp premium. So that's really good news there as far as that goes. With the BKCW, what they also provide for us is one of the coverages is for our comprehensive pollution control, and that one is only paid once every 3 years. That one was $58,000, it was paid last year, so that was that much less this year for that company. Our Reliant for the aviation did go up, but that's because we added an additional aircraft this year, and because of inflation, it did increase the cost per aircraft for aviation. But overall, total numbers, we're looking at quite a bit less than last year, so that's some good news there. Are there any questions about the insurance? Yes, sir.
Officers and directors.
Yes.
I assume that the difference between a director and a trustee is a difference without a distinction, or distinction without a difference?
That I don't know I don't know that, but I can look through the policy on that and I can find out.
Because are we as trustees covered under officers and directors?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, you are, sir.
And the amount of liability we're covered for is?
I don't have the, let me find it right here.
If you don't see it, Dave, we can give it to them.
Yeah, I'll have to find out. I've got the deductibles here, but I don't have the amount of liability that's covered. We can find that and give it to you.
Have the trustees ever been sued?
Not to my knowledge.
Not while I've been on here. Don, can you answer that question? You've been on the board longer.
What was that question again, please?
Has anybody ever sued the trustees of the college district in your knowledge?
No, but I think, we consider it very important that we have, access to insurance coverage.
Yeah, it's on the policy. The question was, have we ever been sued? Nobody here knew. You've been here longer than anybody else.
Yeah. Yes, sir. But, no, I don't ever recall any accusation or contradiction or suit against the board.
Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Our next item on the agenda is the Cigna Life Insurance Contract Renewal. Ms. Jordan?
Okay, well, I have to tell you, it's so nice to see everybody's faces this afternoon.
Here.
Yes. I am here this afternoon to discuss continuing with the life insurance that we've been providing to our employees and retirees. I have a sheet. I don't know, did everybody have that in their packet? I've got extra copies. Anybody? Okay, very good. This is the life insurance that we would like to continue with Cigna, and it's the one where employees, we provided life insurance up to $150,000 for employees, and then up to $100,000 for retirees. We've talked about this plan a couple times. In your packet, you'll see the premiums for the employees is about 10%. The other 90% is the premium that we pay for the retirees. And we have 280 retirees now that are eligible for that benefit. There's another 38 retirees that are still eligible. The majority of our employees, we discontinued the retiree insurance as of 1993. So myself and a number of others, the majority of the employees are not eligible for the retiree insurance. But this is a program that we've been offering since 1970. And it is separate, completely separate from the life insurance that employees can purchase through the state of Texas. It's something that CTC does on its own, and it's a wonderful program. And so I'm asking that we continue this insurance for next year.
Any questions, Ms. Jordan? Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Our next item on the agenda is the Travel Service Award. Mr. Gonzalez?
Good afternoon. Before we begin, I just wanted to add to the for dining services. We've actually put a very comprehensive plan together that does account for all forms of mitigation. And so we do intend to have all of that deployed, which will enact social distancing, controlling the traffic in and out and flow. And so just so that you know, we're looking at even beyond just the early course high school students and being able to account for the public as well. So what was provided in your packets, as you may already know, the contract for travel services is extinguishing at the end of August, and we have no more option years to exercise. As a result, an RFP was performed for travel services, and we actually received 4 responses. And so the 2 companies that went on to the next level to be evaluated were Sun Travel and Casablanca. And the other 2 companies that I thought I would just name were Educational Travel Adventures and Art of Travel. And the reason they weren't considered in the evaluation was they were considered non-responsive, which means that they did not provide all the materials that we requested in the solicitation. We did go back to them and ask, can you please provide? But there again, they declined. And that does happen sometimes where you have companies throw a dart in the air and they'll see if it sticks. And that was likely the case with those 2 companies that were non-responsive. The evaluation team or committee consisted of, no, I'm sorry, the laser pointer doesn't really work, and I don't want to walk away from the mic, but was consisted of the Dean of Fort Hood, Ms. Hare, Dean of Student Services, Dr. Welsh, Mr. Doug Barton, Auditor, Associate Deputy Chancellor of Facilities, Mr. Harmson, and myself. We did not do the review in a room, by the way. We did everything virtually. All the information was provided virtually, and they were able to conduct their assessment. I then took their information, consolidated it, and then provided the findings. Based on the findings, Casablanca was found to be the most capable, best qualified to meet CTC's needs for travel services. Their pricing was also found to be more competitive with no additional fees, and that was really the differentiator. Is the other company, as it related to just pricing, had a whole host of additional fees that Casablanca did not have. So for example, calls that are after hours, there was a $50 fee for that, for each occurrence, where Casablanca, we do not incur that. Additionally, a survey was also done with administration to see if this is something that we still wanted to bring to the board, and everyone concurred that Casablanca services have been more than adequate and that they have been very good to the college. As a result, I'll be seeking approval from the board to award to Casablanca 1 year, or contract with a contract with a 1 base year and 4 option periods. Any questions?
It's good to note also that, Casablanca serves us worldwide. It's not just here in Killeen. And so all of those operations we have around the world depend upon them and their availability 24/7.
Any questions, Mr. Gonzalez?
Usually you bring us a dollar amount that you think that we are pledging. What do we normally spend on transportation?
The dollar amount that we are pledging. If you're looking at how much on an annual basis the college spends, what I can tell you is that when we had some of our larger contracts, those numbers were sizable, and obviously the savings on there were equivalent. So on average, we were looking at a 30 to 40% savings, which is pretty substantial. And so right now, the cleanest example I could give you is that where the college may have spent $100,000, we had a 40% savings. We only put out of pocket $60,000 for that situation. Right now with Navy contract, they're kind of disappearing, and with COVID in place, we're really not doing anything in travel. So right now there's no fees or expenses that are out of pocket to the college. Any other questions?
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Our next item is the CARLBERG advertisement contract renewal. Mr. Malone. Well, you coming up to the podium, I'd just like to brag on Ms. Moore just a minute. She was one of the recipients of the Rotary District 5870 Service of Self-Award, and congratulations. Well done.
Joined by General Weaver there as a co-recipient. I just realized, like, this very second, that the agenda item, my slides are in a different order of the agenda items, so if it's okay, I'd like to discuss number 11 first, and then number 10. Is that okay? Any objections?
That's fine.
Okay, so 11 is our contract with TARGETX, and if you recall, what we do with TARGETX is pretty much any automated communication with students and then some that are not. It's also built on SALESFORCE. So today you see one agenda item, and tomorrow you'll actually see two, because we do have two separate contracts. So the initial contract we started in 2017, implemented in phases because it was a very big task, and I don't think we're ever going to be done with our phases, by the way. But the online application was the first functionality that we're able to do. Since then, we've added text messages, event registration, early alert system, and so forth. And Julie Starkey and her team are so well thought of at the TARGETX folks that for the retention initiatives, they are in a pilot program, and in fact, they're supposed to present the results. So they've been working with Julie and her team on how they think a retention system should work, and it's going to be based on our input. This is kind of our lifeblood with communicating to students, because we're able to do reports and target specific students with specific communications. So for example, we sent out this week the communication about the change to the synchronized virtual learning. And then right now there are about 100 staff members that have accounts. So individual staff members, including the Continental Site Directors, can go in and send individual emails and text messages. And the great thing about that is they can see the other information that the students have gotten via email. A lot of times students won't remember that they received an email, but at least we know that they did receive it. And this is just some process information, but the way we target the students is by location, but also where they are in the process. So we speak specifically to applicants about, fill out your application or finish your application, and then once they finish their application, we focus on enrollment. And with current students, we do kind of a two-pronged approach where my team sends out event emails and updates, and then Julie's team sends out retention-related things, including early alerts that go through the faculty, and then they contact the students directly with those. But I think that was the end of that. Sorry. So any questions about TARGETX and SALESFORCE? I'm going to go back to the amounts up here so you'll see how that will break out. It's pretty even between the two. SALESFORCE you've probably heard of. It's probably one of the largest and most well-known CRMs, so it's nice that we're using that platform. TARGETX does some of the education-specific things that are laid on top of it, including the retention of the application. Yes,
So we're spending between $4 and $5 a student?
Well, if you count prospective students, how many students was our enrollment? About 13,000? So, yes, sir. Any other questions? And I'm sure you believe it or not, they were the lowest cost solution when we did the RFP.
That was item number 11 on your agenda. Now
Yes,
we're
sir.
back up to 10.
Yes, sir, and this will be the third option. So back up to 10 is Richards CARLBERG. They are our advertising agency of record. Again, we did that in 2017, ready for a busy fall. And they're affiliated with the Richards Group out of Houston, but Richards CARLBERG is actually a relatively small firm. The great thing is Richards Group has all this information on media and customer behavior, and so a lot of times they'll contact me and say, hey, we have some new information on social media, because that changes as fast as when you turn around, it's different. And I think really interesting things have happened with media consumption over this pandemic situation. You know, people are more at home. So it used to be we would be concerned that so many students are looking at everything that we do on their mobile device. We've had an uptick in the number of students who are actually looking on laptops and on desktops. And also the same goes for the people on average are listening to radio and podcasts, and they are consuming vast quantities of streaming video, but also live TV as well. And I don't know if it'll change back, it probably will when we get through this. So what they do is they developed our brand, they developed the logo and kind of how we use it. They place and create all of our advertising, and they place them by media, which used to be an easy job, but it is not anymore, and I could not do it by myself. Also, they do other design as needed with things like billboards, but also publications, displays, banners, things like that. The banners that are hung out there with them, very high quality, and we've been really happy with them. So we're going to be recommending we exercise the next option year. We don't have a set amount that we spend or promise to them. It's based on the services that they provide. So when I get my budget back, I will allocate it accordingly. And just in case, I always kind of divide it up into 6-month increments. So I only commit, and I'm not committing it to them, but commit it to myself and my budget 6 months at a time so that we can either decrease or increase it as needed. And the majority of the cost that we spend with them is the media placement. And I keep cutting their time further and further. Do it again next year.
And it's important to recognize, you know, Barbara has done a really good job of keeping the cost down, our costs down, with both of these efforts. You know, we're talking about recruitment and we're talking about retention. And I don't know if any of you have seen the recent articles that have been put out by the Department of Education on retention. And they're estimating that between 40 to 50% of entering freshmen don't finish their degree, whether it's with a community college or a 4-year institution. So if that's the case, you know, spend lots of money to get them there, but once you get them there, you got to figure out how to keep them. So the retention part is really important, and that's where the TARGETX and all those things come into play. But getting them here too, so we can do lots of things, and we can push it out. The media, I speak to the students every Monday and lead and Ms. Monroe clean up my video that I send to them. But the last 2 or 3 I have, maybe the last 4, I've told them, I said, you know, you better hurry and get in here because enrollments, we're offering a few classes and those enrollments are filling up and you're going to miss out on your classes if you don't get them. So I don't know if that's working, but I'm trying to do all I can to get them to come sign up for classes. So, but it's important to get the message out. And the message that we get out, you know, we are, if you look around this table, with 1 or 2 exceptions, we're the generation that reads newspapers and watches news on TV. That isn't who we're targeting. This is, you know, these people don't even know what a newspaper is and don't know what news is on TV. My 40-year-old daughters don't know what the news is on TV. So I think it's a testament to what Barbara and her team have been doing to reach out to our students and keep in touch with them. I know that, I think you told me, or somebody told me, maybe Dr. Garrett said that a lot of people, when this first started, we went into closure, were making phone calls, just picking up the phone and calling the students, trying to keep them encouraged to come back and sign up. So.
As he said, what I always say is if I see an ad for CTC anywhere that's not like television or a billboard, I call the agency and say, why are you advertising to me? I'm not supposed to see your ads. So the social media ads are very targeted to people who are not me or y'all for the most part. Okay? Any questions? Yes.
You might want to go back and check your math on the low ends of those ranges.
Which low ends?
Put your percentages back up there again.
Oh, are the percentages wrong? Maybe because I updated one and not the other. One moment, please. Okay, so we're at 85. What I'm estimating for this coming year is that it's gonna be 18% agency time and 82% media. And it was 79% media and 21% agency, so. Typo. Thank you, Mr. College.
Any other questions, Mr. Malone? Let the record indicate that, Mr. Pierce is in his seat at the board. They can't see you on video, on audio, so look, raise your hand if you have any questions.
I'm following.
Okay.
I'll ask for a briefing after this.
Okay. Next item is a recommendation for topics for upcoming agenda items or announcements. Mr. Hollinger?
Pass.
No. I have nothing.
I just have a suggestion. We often hear during these times about the heroes and what certain professions have accomplished, primarily the medical staff. I'd like for us to start now in preparation when we're all back on campus, somehow to acknowledge our teachers, our professors that have, just even if it's just a celebration of them, I would like for us to start preparing now for an event that will acknowledge them as heroes.
Dr. Reed? I've got one announcement. On the 9th of July, I attended the tax reinvestment zone board, City of Killeen, Bell County, Central Texas College, and I've got some information I'm going to give to Ms. Havens to pass out to you all. It's a pretty involved set of slides on the video option and PowerPoints, and I tried to download them, but I couldn't get it done, so I got the page here, so we'll pass it out to you. If you go online, you can look this stuff up. What it amounts to, there's been a proposal, for those of you who've been around Killeen a while, coming off of Fort Hood at the East Gate, Ranceiro, about 6 blocks into town, there's a proposal to police that area up, make it look beautiful, bury the power lines and widen the road and doing some other kinds of cosmetic things. There's money available to do that, but they don't have any contracts yet. It's still in concept. I've got this visual audio thing that you can see like you're driving a car, and it'll show you where you're going. So you might want to look at that, give some idea of what some of your tax dollars are going for. Our next meeting we've got scheduled is for Tuesday, July 28th, 2020 in this room. And the board workshop scheduled for Tuesday, August 18th, 2020, and I guess that will be in this room also, unless we get further word on that. The next meeting, we will have a executive session, and please try to be here for that. Don, can you make it for the executive session? Don Armstrong?
Yes.
Will you be able to make it for the executive session when we meet next Tuesday?
I'm gonna give it my best shot.
Okay, appreciate it.
And I appreciate y'all, understanding it, so, and since I got the floor, I'd like to reiterate what the Chancellor's office said, how much we appreciate, all the people that work for Central Texas College. They're doing a great job, and I appreciate it, and I know that everyone does. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And with that, we are adjourned.